it's scary. I mean, I walked up here with my flag on and I instantly took it off because, you know, people are telling you to be careful.
At UNC Chapel Hill, tensions boiling between supporters of the two sides. Arizona State University Students for Justice in Palestine holding a rally today outside the Student Union, one day after the school's Hillel Jewish organization held a vigil in support of Israel. The school acknowledging the distress and concern caused by the week's events in a statement, but some Jewish students say it doesn't go far enough.
There was no real statement saying what happened was wrong, which I think is stressing out a lot of the Jewish students.
Hey there, guys. Welcome to the channel. You know, look, I really do truly understand both sides of the Israel-Palestine argument, right? But it honestly really upsets me that so many people, really on both sides, they don't understand or even try to understand the actual truth, because everything has a truth, even in 2023. And I'll explain what I mean in a moment. But guys, thanks to everyone that's been subscribing and leaving such great comments. Really appreciate the support. If you haven't already, help us to continue to grow. Like, comment, subscribe, most importantly, share the channel. So here's the thing, you know, there are people who really do believe that the people who live in Palestine, they really have been done wrong by the Jews or Israelis or Zionist colonizers. There's a million different ways that they say it, but what they always mean, they mean Jews. That's what they mean. But guys, what are we really talking about? I mean, really, what are we really talking about? Because if we're talking about who was there first, it's the Jews. Even in the Quran, it says that the Israelites were there first. So what are we even talking about? What are we arguing about? And that's just one aspect of it. You know, we want to argue about whose land it is, you know, who was there first. Well, like I said, anyone with any historic understanding can agree on who was there first. But what's another topic? You know, atrocities. They always want to talk about atrocities. You know, the side that is now in the position of justifying what can literally only be described as terrorism, you know, they say that it's all justified by Israeli atrocities. Well, what atrocities has Israel committed? Please, somebody in the chat illustrate it for me, because there's no descriptions, there's no illustrations. There's just blanket claims and conspiracy theories about IDF sneaking into Gaza and shooting any child they find out after curfew, right? This from the people who say that if you even have just one tiny remaining question about Joe's 81 million, then you're a dangerous conspiracy theorist who just can't be trusted. And here's the thing, man. All violence is bad. No one can argue otherwise. I get that there are innocent people on both sides, but there is no moral equivalence here. You know, one side slaughters innocents for basically sport and shoots rockets indiscriminately into cities. The other doesn't. And everyone on the left, you guys want to talk about free Palestine, and that's great, you know, but you have literally zero interest in actually freeing Palestine from Hamas. Why is that? You know, I understand that there's very little we agree on, but why can't we all agree on that Hamas has got to go so Palestine can be free? But anyway, speaking of agreeing, it's tough, especially with a complicated issue.
And a war has broken out by two conservative commentators. Let's go and put this up there on the screen. First was from Megyn Kelly. She was actually responding to something from VIVEK RAMASWAMY, which we'll show you. But she effectively is saying, quote, that it is unable to persuade college students that, quote, murdering babies is wrong. There's no persuading them. We don't hire those who do the killing, and we don't hire those who applaud killers while the savagery is underway. If you are open to hiring one of those lunatics, though, good to know. This actually was responded to by Candace Owens. So let's put this up there on the screen. This is an important corollary to her discourse. She says, "Oh, stop it. This is incredibly disingenuous, Megyn. You know that many of those students are not out there because they want babies to be murdered. College kids are stupid. I used to be radically pro-choice. I'm glad I didn't get put on a conservative blacklist for wanting babies murdered. As it turned out, I was just young and temporarily brainwashed from a public school education, coupled with mainstream Hollywood lies, and not because I legitimately wanted to see infants torn from their mother's wombs. Dr. Thomas Sowell used to be a radical socialist who ardently supported communism. Thankfully, he wasn't put on a conservative blacklist, and he was accused of being a person who wanted worldwide suffering and starvation. As as socialism and communism bring. Students are young and experimenting. You're an adult woman who is advocating for their lives to be permanently pigeonholed because they have the wrong ideas which they are likely being spoon-fed in the classroom. All of this was sparked by VIVEK Ramaswamy, presidential candidate. Let's put this up there on the screen. He put out this statement, quote, "The Harvard students who co-sign the anti-Israel letter are simple fools, but it is not productive for companies to blacklist kids for being members of student groups that make dumb political statements on campus. Colleges are spaces for students to experiment with ideas, and sometimes kids join clubs that endorse boneheadedly wrong ideas. I have been as vocal as anyone in criticizing left-wing cancel culture, but it is bad no matter who practices it. It wasn't great when people were wearing Trump hats were fired from work, and it wasn't great when college graduates couldn't get hired unless they signed oppressive DEI pledges. It's not great now if companies refuse to hire kids who are part of student groups that once adopted the wrong views on Israel. This is not a legal point, it's a cultural point. I say this as someone who vehemently disagrees with those student groups. Those calling for blacklisting students right now are responding from a place of understandable hurt, but I am confident that in the fullness of time, they will agree with me on the wisdom of avoiding these cancel culture tactics."
So here's the backstory. There are some very unintelligent, brainwashed college students that honestly, even after hundreds of thousands of dollars that their parents have spent on their education, they can't even explain to you what a Palestinian is. So they came out picketing, they came out protesting, signing petitions, and some other actually pretty abhorrent behavior that I don't agree with. And some companies came out and they said that they were going to blacklist them and not hire anyone who signed any of these pro-Hamas petitions. While VIVEK Ramaswamy, presidential candidate, he came out and said that he doesn't agree with that approach because it's a slippery slope. And he's basically saying that that's no different than some other company blacklisting you for supporting Donald Trump or wearing a MAGA hat on your Facebook or whatever. And I get what he's saying, but there's a couple of things. One, companies have absolutely done that, and they are doing that. They are blacklisting MAGA. That's 100% happening. Not saying it's right either way, but it is happening. And two, honestly, I do think it's different. And in a past life, I hired and fired a lot of people, and I always looked at their social media. Now, obviously, if I saw some Hillary BS or any other left-wing stuff, I didn't care about that because honestly, it's everywhere. But if I saw something criminal or racist or anything like that, that was it, dude. You're done. I won't tell you that that's what it was, but you're on to the next thing. And I'm sorry, there is no moral equivalence between declaring your politics and literally simping for violent, brutal terrorism. There just isn't. There just isn't. I mean, that is not the same thing, not any possible way. And I do totally get Candace's point about, not freezing unintelligent college kids in that moment, that one moment that they think, do, or say, or support something really, really stupid. But honestly, I feel like, we've got to make it hard to come back from supporting a terrorist organization. I mean, can you be redeemed? Yeah, of course, you can be redeemed. But just like any criminal serving their time, certain crimes just don't go away. You rob a bank, you do your time, you serve your sentence, and welcome home. Don't do that again. But if you do something truly abhorrent, like molest a child, you can still come home, but that's going to follow you everywhere you go for the rest of your life. And it should. It absolutely 100% should. But take a look at what you are actually associating yourself with, and when you choose unwisely and without thinking in a conflict like this.
And we will talk about the history. I just want to finish with the values first, because it's just amazing to me that the American left, so much of it, throws their lot in with people whose values, I hope they don't share, but let's go through them. Because values and customs make a difference, okay? And the people of Gaza, by the way, if the Israelis did get rid of Hamas, they'd be doing a giant favor to the people of Gaza who hate Hamas too. But let's just go through the lists. Because the Israelis look like us in most ways, values-wise. Maybe we're not doing it the right way. I don't know. Religious tolerance. That doesn't exist in Gaza. You're either Muslim or an infidel, and you better be a Muslim. Female freedom. Free and fair elections. Free speech. Gay rights. I see these Queers for Palestine.
Did you hear their sister organization, Blacks for the KKK?
It's like...
By the way, I'm a gay man. I've lived in Berlin. This is a level of masochism that even I cannot comprehend.
Right. I mean...
You know what? I'm going to just...
can I just finish my list? Pedophilia, I'll put that under don't ask. Child brides and so forth. Equality of the sexes, I'll categorize that under don't make me fucking laugh. The fact that, you know, these people think that this is where they should be aligned with, that these are the values that you support?
I think this past week has been a real important moment for a moral reckoning on the American left. Because there is a small, and I'm going to emphasize that, a very small but growing and extremely loud faction on the American left that has revealed itself.
I don't know how
to
small
be
anymore.
Okay, well, I mean,
it was all over. It was.
Well, we just had a conversation about the algorithm, right? And I think you have a few groups. You have some college groups. You have some activist groups.
It's college.
So yeah, I mean, that is an absolutely heavy list, right? And Bill Mahr lays it out pretty perfectly. And is this really where we're at? You know, our fellow citizens have gotten so caught up in the virtue signal and so caught up with being anti anything a conservative says, you know, so much so that they've convinced themselves to support a terrorist organization that would literally murder them because of the other views that they hold, right? And really, actually, not even that. They would literally murder them just because of who they are and where they're from. And honestly, you know, as far as college campus goes, what are we really talking about? You know, are we talking about ignorant people? Or are we talking about young people that are either already or very, very close to being radicalized? I mean, it's crazy. I mean, can you imagine having a phone conversation with your kid that's been in these crazy rallies and spouting this insanity? And they were literally totally normal a year ago when you sent them off to college, right? I can't imagine it, honestly. I mean, they're absolutely getting radicalized. And where does that radicalization end? You know, does it end at just thoughts and just words and just feelings? Or are we going to be looking at a situation where not far away from seeing, you know, some sort of radicalized actions from these kids that many of us just view as ignorant, misled kids still finding their way, you know? I hope that the people who are saying that and believe that, hope that they're right. But I don't know. That's a scary-ass question to contemplate if you ask me. But guys, that's just my take. Let me know your take in the comments. And if you haven't already, please make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Most importantly, share the channel. And we'll see you in the next one.